All right. Here we are. Good morning, afternoon, and possibly evening for some. We're back, and it's great to be here with you, Pete, today. And we are going to work on a topic that Pete really went above and beyond. I love it. It's so great. Coming from a question from someone who was watching a couple weeks ago, and they presented us with kind of a situation in their life and a question of how to overcome these constant and consecutive challenges. So Pete, really, you did. I'm so happy you just like ran with it. So thank you to our viewer for bringing us a question. That's why we love having questions. It prompts a whole other you know um, way for us to go through on topics. So keep doing that, and thank you. And take it away, Pete. I'll start with overcoming life's consecutive challenges and ways to cope.
Yeah, right. It's one where um, when I heard the question, it really made me think of one of my past clients who now uses this story in her business because it really was one where she thought like her life was over type of thing. So it was a couple years ago. She was doing really good in her career. Family life was going really well. Like everything just seemed perfect, right? She's like, "Oh my goodness, like this is amazing, Pete." And then it felt like out of nowhere, she lost like all of it, right? So she made a big financial mistake. Her business was almost bankrupt. Like, so before she had a team of maybe it was like 8 or 10 people, she had to lay them all off, right? And if anyone's had to lay off anyone, we know how hard that is and how much it hurts, right? She was going, oh my goodness, like I'm just going to lose my business. This is my life. If I lose my business, I lose my house, and like going crazy. And then out of this again, seemingly nowhere, one of her close family members was diagnosed with cancer. And then that added on top of it. She was like, I can't take any more. And then she found out that her business partner, who was one of her best friends, really betrayed her and took pretty much any savings she had left. And she was like, I am at rock bottom. I'm broke. I have no friends. Um, it's just the world was crumbling down. And it was one where we spent time just rebuilding. And now she's more successful than ever before, to the point where even now she has a smaller team, but they're more successful of a team. Um, but it's one where this is what made me think when I heard the question about this situation, where it's like certain times in our lives, it seems like when it rains, it pours, right? Everything happens all at once. And so going through my notes when I worked with her, I was pulling out some stuff that helped. Um, the first one is when we look at this, it's knowing that there's cognitive bias and pattern recognition. Uh, we as people, we're just hardwired to look for patterns, right? It is how we survive. It's how we navigate through our world is by recognizing patterns. And so when all that happens and we're beginning to see the patterns and our brain naturally starts linking them together, the funny thing is they're not always related. So like we're connecting things that have nothing to do with each other. And I see it in times in my own life where it's like, oh, you know, um, one, let's say client got mad at something I said. Therefore, I go, well, the next client's going to get mad at what I said. And the truth is they're not connected. Like the other one probably wouldn't be mad at all. But sometimes, you know, our brains go, well, if one was mad, the other will be mad, right? If this person doesn't like it, well, then this person won't like it either. So we have to recognize that our brain is just looking for those patterns, right? And so when we begin to perceive these bad things happening, right, and we look at it as a string of bad luck, right, even though they're independent, we begin to cluster them together, and that can make us go, what the heck, right? Why is this happening to me? And the truth is, they're just unrelated, right? And sometimes we got to remind ourselves that, like, that's really important. We got to remember they're separate. They didn't, you know, the way I look at it now when I joke about it is I go, these two events didn't come together and have a secret conversation behind my back and go, you know how we can make Pete's day horrible, right? We're going to make him have an accident on his way home from work, and then we're going to have a plumbing issue. Oh man, that's going to be the kicker, right? They don't have those conversations because they're unrelated. And sometimes for me, I find it really helpful to have that conversation with myself. Because one, I can't help but laugh when I have that conversation with myself, because that is ridiculous. These are inanimate things, right? But it helps break that pattern we're naturally putting together. The second one is really emotional magnification, right? So this happens when we're feeling down or stressed, or could even be happy. But in this situation, we're really talking about the heavy feelings, right? What happens is our emotions want to amplify, right? They want to take minor, small things and turn them into mountains, right? So it's like, you know, knock on wood, right? It doesn't happen. But let's say I wake up and me and my wife start arguing, right? And then I start heading to the office, and now I'm in traffic, right? Or maybe I spilled my coffee on my shirt, right? Even though the traffic is something minor on another day, or maybe the coffee being spilled is a minor thing on another day, today it is amplified. It's now going from a 3 to a 10, right? Just because I had something set my emotional state in a certain direction earlier, right? And so sometimes when, again, we look at these things and we get to go, okay, one thing happened and another thing happened. How would I look at, let's say, the traffic jam on a day I was happy? Would I be bothered by it? Probably not, right? I'd be probably jamming out to the music, singing along, looking like a fool, right? But because of the argument, now I'm looking at it as just the worst thing in the world, right? So it kind of puts it in perspective for us to go, oh, maybe I can shrug this off, right? This is a minor thing. On a different day, it's no big deal, right? We need to remind ourselves of that, right? Again, we're breaking the reasons why it thinks it needs to be there. So the other big one is really if something shares a root cause, right? So there's many times in our lives when multiple things arise because they share an underlying root cause. So I think a good example of that is usually financial struggles, right? So a financial struggle could lead to both housing issues and relationship stress, right? Same root cause causing two different problems, you know? So it's not merely perception. These things are really connected together. And when we can recognize that certain things are linked together, well, then we realize, well, we don't have to address just a housing issue and the relationship issue or relationship stress separately. We realize that if we deal with the root cause, both of them get solved that way, you know? So we got to begin to look at these three things when we're experiencing, let's say, struggles in our life, right? Is it a pattern recognition? Are we putting two things that are completely separate together? Are we just going, you know what, because I'm in a bad mood, everything sets me off, right? The computer taking an extra 2 seconds to load. Oh my goodness, I'm so stressed for time, right? Is it something more in depth, like, let's say, financial struggles, where that alone is affecting our relationships, our housing, our family, our every part of really of our life, right? That way we know how to tackle it, right? Because once we begin to feel drained, things become cloudy at best until we can actually take that step back, right? The step out of the smoke to go, well, what do I need to do, right? So this brings me into, I say, the next part of when we work is the emotional reservoir, right? This is our capacity to feel emotions. We all have it. We all have that threshold, right? And understand that every challenging event we encounter in our lives just drains us a little bit more, right? When we face situations that just take a toll on our emotions, we just get depleted, right? So if another challenge keeps on coming one after another, we need to be able to recognize that our emotional reservoir, our capacity, gets depleted before it can get refilled. All right. So that when we think about that, we got to go, okay, so I got to do something to take care of myself, to refill my reservoir, my capacity. But we also have to understand that everyone has maybe a different resilience or threshold level, right? So I always think of this when I go to the gym with my friend Rob, right? He can bench press twice as much as me, if not more, you know, and he can do it safely, right? It doesn't strain his muscles like it would mine, right? Because just like physical fatigue, if I push myself to his level, I would really face serious injuries, you know, damage to my body. And emotional fatigue does very much the same thing, right? It lowers, and we all have different thresholds, and we need to understand where our threshold is, you know. And from that, we can either make it stronger if we don't think it's strong enough, not in a way of like, oh man, I got to throw myself in the deep end, but it's going, you know what? Let me get used to this, right? Because in my experience, something is always going to happen. Good, bad, indifferent, something is always going to come next. Life never stops, you know? But when we can go into and we get the tools to strengthen ourselves, we do really ourselves a good service on building our threshold so we can just handle more and more and get drained less and less, you know, longer and longer apart, right? The next one is cognitive impact. This is where we really need to take, again, a moment to look at ourselves inside and realize that when all these things happen in our life, right? When all these things, one after another, happen, it doesn't just affect our emotions, right? It affects our cognitive functions, right? Our abilities on our decision making, our problem solving, our critical thinking, right? All these things become impaired. And since they become impaired, as we're emotionally drained, it's harder for us to always see the clear answer or the easy answer or the best answer. And when that happens, again, it just amplifies everything we're experiencing, right? So hopefully a lot of you are going like, wow, like all these things are connected because they are, you know. The last two, I'll try to go really quickly because I want to do a good meditation for this. But the next two are the hyper awareness and anticipation, right? This is where we become so hyper aware of bad things happening, right? Or challenges or threats happening. We're in such a heightened state, we're beginning to look for it, right? We're anticipating more bad things to happen, right? How often do we say, when will the other shoe drop, right? That hyper awareness just increases our perception that these events are just going to keep on happening. So again, we need to just take that step back to go, hey, these things aren't connected. If these things aren't connected, that means good things are coming. You know, good things will happen in between. We got to keep looking for that. And the last really big one is our physical repercussions, right? So just as we get emotionally drained, right, physical things will happen. We won't sleep as well. We won't eat as well. We'll get sick quicker. Those are just, I guess, some of the side effects I can think of off the top of my head. But they begin to, I say, more manifest in our lives because of everything going on, right? But again, let's say we become sleep deprived. Now, you know, our reservoir, our threshold can't refill. It can't reset. And so then it starts, you know, at 60% day 2. And then day 3, it starts at 30%. And then now our patience is running out. Our energy's low. We're just compromised in every area of our life. And so when this happens, right, our stress level goes up, and we just begin to navigate the world like with different lenses on, right? We're looking for the stressful things in our life, and we're looking for things that will drain our reservoir versus fill it up. And so this is one where the session I have, I really want to be built around replenishing our reservoir, resetting our threshold, to give our mind and body the chance to rejuvenate the way it needs to, so we can see that all these things are separate. To go, wow, just because these things happen doesn't mean this good thing isn't going to happen. You know, we get to, again, reset our glasses to the right frames to help us see the world in the proper way. So with that, everyone just get nice and comfortable, and hopefully you're not driving while watching or listening, to where you can get nice and comfortable. Otherwise, save it for later. But when we're nice and comfortable, just take a nice deep breath in. And then when you exhale, just close your eyes. And I just want you to begin to focus on your breathing. I want you to notice the rise and fall of every breath. See, as you become more aware of your breathing, just really listen in. Can you hear the air flowing in through your nose or even your mouth? And when you exhale, can you hear it? Can you feel the temperature, the texture of all this air around you? See, as you focus on your breathing, so I want you to imagine a sense of calm, a sense of serenity flowing into you. See, as you breathe out, just allow all the tension, any stress, just to let go, to fade away. And notice, as you breathe in the calm, the serenity, and as you exhale the tension and the stress, your shoulders become a little bit droopier and heavier. That's right, as you go inside more and more. So you find every sound around you just makes you more relaxed, more grounded. Maybe you just imagine yourself with every exhale walking down a staircase. Each step taking you deeper and deeper inside your mind. See, every exhale brings you down another step inside your body. That's right. Every step you take just brings you down deeper and deeper into your soul, where every memory is stored, where every experience you feel instantly becomes your reality. So you can have a thought of that nice sunny day or that peaceful day, and it can bring that warmth and peace into your mind, body, and soul. See, there are many times in your life when you may feel the challenges that seem to cascade one right after the other, almost feeling like they overwhelm you. But as you relax even deeper, I want you to think of these challenges as waves crashing on the shore. Each wave strong and powerful, but always receding, making the way for the calm once again. See, while it may seem that the universe is throwing everything at you all at once, these experiences, as tough as they might be, are shaping you, refining you, teaching you resilience. See, I want you to imagine the color, first impression of resilience, that strength. So I want you to imagine that color as if it's a protective bubble all around you, with every challenge simply bouncing off, leaving only the lessons and the strength behind. So you get to see that one challenge coming, poof, bounces off, and you say to yourself, I am resilient and strong. Sounds really good. Sounds even better the second time. I am resilient and strong. And the third time, I am resilient and strong. See, then another challenge is if right after the first one, poof, bounces off, and you get to say, every challenge I face makes me wiser, makes me more adaptable. Because it's true. Every challenge I face does make me wiser and more adaptable. As a third challenge comes in, bounces right off your protective bubble. And again, you say to yourself, I have the inner resources to handle whatever comes my way. So you really feel that strength, that resilience. Wrap around you. See just how you get to make choices in your day. Choices on what shirt to wear, what shoes to wear. If it's raining outside, do I bring an umbrella or do I just run through the rain? Just like you have those choices, you have the choice now to keep this protective bubble around you. So make that choice. Keep it or let it go. Because in a moment, I'm going to count from 1 to 5, in which each count you will feel more alert, more refreshed, more empowered. See, as 1 and 2, becoming more aware of your surroundings. As 3, beginning to stretch and move. And 4, feeling the energy return and making that decision now to keep or let go of this protective bubble. As 5, eyes opening, fully awake and emerged and feeling ready and having the ability to face any challenge with resilience. Welcome back. And so with this experience, I hope we can understand the importance of self-care, whether it's reaching out support from a loved one or professionals like us, right? To look at everything that comes our way as an opportunity for growth, holding on to the lessons while letting the situation go, but also while staying grounded in mindfulness and in meditation. So that's what I have for today.
Thanks, Pete.
You're welcome.
That was great. And for those that are watching now, if you had an experience in the meditation you'd like to share, please do. You can do that in the chat. And I had a great experience here. Let's see. We got a fire and a heart emoji. Thank you, Amalia. It was great to have my protective bubble, and I just felt it very clearly, just like the bouncing off. And then I liked the idea too of it bouncing off, but then like leaving behind the lesson, or the strength. That was nice too, because then all of a sudden, like, that bubble is a little bit more permeable, right? Because, what I get from what you're saying is, and we've experienced so often, is no matter how bad a thing is, and it can just be so bad, there's a very, very big chance that there's some strength, there's some growth, there's something that's happened to you or for you, not to say it should have ever happened or it should happen again, but when we survive something, there is some element, more often than not, that is helpful, or that you might say, okay, that aspect can be in my bubble.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that. Well, thank you so much for today, and I hope it was useful for folks who are listening and will listen later. And as always, reach out to us if you have any questions, or want to do any work with either of us. One of us is on the East Coast and one of us is on the West Coast. And it was so great to have a question today. So thank you to that viewer who brought that, and everyone feel free to, bring another one, because this is how we learn, obviously. And so any last things from you today, Pete?
Yeah, it's in life, I've learned things will always come at us, right? And when we really look at the strength that we are gaining from it, they become easier and easier to handle. And we're more and more prepared to take them on without them affecting us the way they used to.
Yeah, it's a good one. And I think the other part of the question that was asked was, why does this happen? Why are there these consecutive things? Do you have like just a short answer about what you?
The big reason why for a lot of it is whether it's the pattern recognition, right? Whether it is because we're emotionally drained, or whether it is they share the same root cause, right? Those are the why it looks like it's happening that way, because even, let's say here in Massachusetts, right? It's pretty much been raining for like a week straight, right? We can look at it and go, another rain, right? It's just, oh my God, it's just starting to flood in the street. right? There are a lot of people who are looking at it as a bad thing, but even while it's raining, I'm looking at the flowers blooming, right? Even while it's raining, I'm looking at the growth happening in my own backyard, you know? But again, I'm not looking for the pattern of, well, it's raining, it's raining, it's raining, it's raining. I'm looking at going, wow, it rained, something good happened. It rained, something even better happened. It rained, something good happened, you know? And so when things happen consecutively, things in life are always happening consecutively, right? You just, even when we don't have exciting lives, things are always happening. But when we look at whether we're drained, right? So like I look at burnout from work, right? When people are burned out from work, even the smallest thing will be the biggest disaster. But it's not because it's a big disaster, because they are tired, they're exhausted, they're worn out, you know? And so it's that, or they're used to things not going, let's say, right at work, right? Oh, sure, they're putting out a new system. That's going to work just like the last one did, right? Not so well, right? They're looking for those patterns that this one has to be like the last one, right? But things are always happening. And so when we can take that step back to go, well, this isn't all that's happening. There are these good things in between. We're breaking that pattern. We're building up our emotional reservoir as these things happen. So we're more in control of how we handle what happens.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer, and it also is a perspective change, which I just think, for me, it's always enlightening and opens up the world more. It changes it from like, why are these things continually happening, opposed to things are always happening. If I'm feeling so affected in this way, let me check in with my emotional reservoir. Let me check in with my self-care. Let me see if there's a root cause here. And, tap into where, is your resiliency lowered? What is your threshold tolerance? I mean, there is no doubt that sometimes a mom dies and then an accident happens and a surgery happens, and, there might be, that might be a larger question than any human can answer. Like, why did that particular event of losses and pain happen in your life? But at least something that is within your control are some of these, bases that you covered today. Where is my resiliency? What's my emotional reservoir? How, am I focusing on these certain things? Is there a root cause? So I think there's a lot of really great, as they say, juicy tidbits in there, to continue to explore. So I like it. Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay. Well, we'll sign off for today. See you next week, and reach out to us, anyone, if you'd like to. And until then, ciao.